Ed from Voyage Adventure Vans here. Kitchen drawers. Well, in this video I'm going to run through how I make kitchen drawers, which type of drawer runner I use, and how we line up a full set of drawers and create an adjustable drawer front. What I'm about to do, I've got to make 4 drawers which are exactly the same width and depth, and they're all cut the same width and depth because they've been done on the CNC. But what I found is that even if you've cut something right, if you don't screw it together straight, then it's going to cause you just as many problems. And because of the size of these drawers and where they're located, I'm moving away from our Hayflay all-in-one sides and runner, because it just doesn't work with this size of drawer that well, and they've got disastrous availability on one size that I need. I think it's September, it's not available till. Just for information, this is early April, so don't think the customer would be too pleased if we wait. So I'm going to go back to what works, which is a normal drawer runner. I got 13mm laminated sides, which means I haven't got any issues where on the height I put the drawer runner, which is another issue. But what I've done, I've actually made a jig, which is a snug fit for the actual drawer to sit in. So it is a snug fit, but what it means is that I can glue the base into the rebate and then basically just chuck a couple of pins around. I can put a little bit of glue up here, a couple of pins, and just sort of clamp the top edge. I might even just put a small screw at the very top just to hold it. First thing, take this out and glue up the rebates. And it's going to be a very substantial drawer, but from experience people do put an awful lot of stuff in drawers. I'm trying not to put so much that it just oozes everywhere, because this is an expanding glue, and obviously being rebated, to be fair, it doesn't need a great deal, but this will be absolutely rock solid, which is definitely a good enough reason to make sure it's square in the first place. I'm just trying to keep it sort of square so that the glue's not sort of squishing everywhere at the moment. That's pretty much on there. Now it's just a case of sliding it into my jig. And as long as I push that side in, the bottom is perfectly square. And obviously, as long as I keep that level all the way up, a couple of pins in there, we should be good. The next step in the drawers is to make the drawer fronts, or to start assembling the drawer fronts. So what I've got, I've got the 4 drawers cut out there. I'm just going to flip this and cut I don't think the CNC's gone all the way through the polythene covering. So I'll just flip this over and just cut it gently. I've just cut them out in sequence. There's no grain to this, so it won't make any difference if I have to recut them or anything else, because if this was a wood grain, then I would need to put them in alignment so that we had grain match on the cupboards. So I've got the edge band heating up, so I'll just do these 4. I'm going to mount the drawer runners to the drawers. I'm going to basically just make sure my calculations are right. It gets quite complicated trying to make sure that you've put them all in the right spot, because your catches, everything needs to line up so that it it's uniform when you put it together. You know, I don't want to be putting catches in a different location just because that's where they fit. I'm trying to make it all uniform from the word go. So it's a little bit of planning. What I'm aiming to do next is attach the drawer runners to the drawers. And what I need to do in an ideal world is have the main part of this drawer runner right at the bottom of the drawer box. But it's the extending section that's going to be attached, and then that is 10mm from there to, so the distance from there to there is 10mm. So I'm, in an ideal world, I want a spacer. So that's on a flat deck, that's on a flat deck. Instead of making a measurement each time, I can just put that on a flat deck and then screw it. Luckily, I've got some plastic which is 10mm thick, so I'll use that for now, and that will at least allow me to detach this, put it dead level with the front, and then I can just screw it and then reattach the block, and that will at least allow me consistent spacing through all the drawers. It'll sort of make sense when I start assembling the drawers, but basically, because we've got a lot of cutaways on the inside frame of the drawer carcass, I've left enough meat for this to attach to only in certain places, and it sort of wants to be here. If I put it up here, it would be no good for my current installation. So I'm just making sure that's flush with the front, and then we won't have any alignment issues. Well, we won't have many. What I tend to do is try and pick out the ovaled holes for the first couple of screws, give me some adjustment if I need it, and then later on you can always jab a screw into the smaller holes. That one's attached. I can put this back on. So that's that side. So that's the front, so that goes that way. So that's the top drawer. So just got 3 more drawers to do exactly the same. Edge band has warmed up, so I'll be trimming up the white cupboards any second now. And this is the benefit of using standard drawer runner over a box drawer system, in that I can now make, if this was the system that we would have used had they had stock, then this drawer would have had to have stopped there, or I would have had to gone up to a 400mm drawer runner. Then there wouldn't be enough space for cabling and wires and pipe work at the back. So by using a normal drawer runner, I can basically make the box a bit longer and gain a little bit of space that way. It swings and roundabouts, but it allows you a bit more customization. It means I can, if I wanted to put a drawer runner up here, I could. And we've done some cupboards in the past where we've had some really funky positions for drawer runners. So now our drawer runners sit exactly at the bottom edge of the drawer unit. Right, I've got another 2 to do which are exactly the same, and we'll get on with some edge banding. First things first with the drawer fronts is to basically do the ends. You can see I've got slider pad on there, so I can run that across there. I'm only going to be able to do one side at a time unless I put a skinny piece on, and I can't be arsed. So I'm going to do both sides because I can get to both sides. Trim them off, and then do one side, trim it off, do the other side, trim it off, and then finish up. Cut those to length. That's been running for a few minutes, so that's nice and even flow probably. I'm just going to run that through and then catch it as it comes out. Flip that around, opposite side, same thing. So just try and push this through at the same speed. I mean, the glue literally is dry now. I mean, it takes a couple of seconds for it to go off. I mean, it's coming out there at 190 degrees, and this plate is, you know, certainly 100 degrees or more. So that's designed to sort of warm the edge. That warms the edge of this up. It's not so important in the summer, but in the winter, you don't want the sort of cold shock of. Apparently, that's what it's for. You get cold shock on a cold wooden surface. So if it's been warmed up first, well, pre-warmed, when it hits there, the glue's not instantly being sort of solidified. So, and you can run this a lot faster, but then it takes a bit more skill to catch it. It's alright for long straights, but I tend to find it's easier on the slowest speed. So same as everything else with the edge banding that I've done. Chop top and bottom, making sure that it is really flat. And if it doesn't feel flat, sand it back off. They're pretty good. Trim the edge. So both edges trimmed. I can now do one of these lengths, so I'll take it back over there. So I've got my two lengths cut, put an inch over, turn that back on. I'm just applying a reasonable amount of pressure against that roller, but not trying to push it off the back of the table. Usual scrape now. Right, so now we can probably at this point take the plastic off, lose the centre, and at the moment on this one actually it doesn't really make a difference which side I choose for the face, because I've got no other markings on it, and it's just gently shaving that edge. It's not a bad edge there. One decent drawer front, 3 more to do in exactly the same way. I'm going to measure 4 holes. I'll put a 1-inch screw, so this is 14.6 mil, 14.5 mil each, so I'll be safe with a 1-inch screw or a 25 mil screw, as long as I don't countersink it beyond the head into there. So I'll screw that and screw that where I think it ought to be and get it square. It shouldn't be more than 1 mil out of place. So we'll put 2 screws in which hold it. I'll have 2 screws in which won't go in yet, they'll lock it, and then I need some adjustment. So these 2 screws, once we've test fitted it and decided that it's within 1 mil or 2 of level, then what we'll do is take these 2 screws out. The holes that are in the back of the drawer front, we'll put an M4 lug in there. So we'll screw that into the back. and then on here we'll open the hole out to 6mm or 6.5mm, and then we'll use a sort of small penny washer on the M4 bolt. Will allow us a little bit of side to side and up and down adjustment on the drawer front to get it perfectly correct. Everything from this point now is all about square and spacing. So I'm going to try and do everything I can to put this, or to put these 4 shelves in a way that everything is, say, either square or spaced. I will be giving ourselves a little bit of adjustment on the drawer front, but for the moment the drawers are going to be set up with no adjustment. So each drawer front is going to be screwed on with 4 screws, and I'm not particularly measuring this, I'm just using the ruler as a spacer. They're not interchangeable, so it doesn't really matter how I do it, but what I'm going to do is just drill a sort of 2.5mm hole. I'm just going slow at the back so I don't get any breakout, and I haven't got anything that I'm holding in there. So any of the laminate like this, if you bang a screw from one side straight through, it'll just burst out and break out the other side. So that's going to be my screw positions. I'll put a 1-inch screw into the top 2. I'm not going to worry about the bottom 2 for the time being. Top 2 will take a 1-inch screw, which will be right level with my handle, so that's where the pull is. The pull force on the drawer is going to be across the handle. We'll have a screw there. They'll later be swapped out for a machined thread in the back of the door and an M4 bolt that will come through this into the door, so there's a lot less chance of it breaking out. I'm going to do that to each of the shelves, and then when they're not even shelves, are they? I'm going to do this to each of the drawers, then we'll go next door into the other part of the workshop where I've got the kitchen unit stacked on my bench, and then we'll try and start spacing these up and see what it looks like as they start coming together. I've got the kitchen carcass sort of set up on the bench, so a lot of our door spacing is all based around 2mm gaps, so I'm just going to use bits of 2mm edge banding. So they'll form our spacers so we can wedge it out, make sure it's square. This is obviously the bottom plinth of the unit. Then this is what the drawer is going to shut up against, and that's going to sort of be the first level of spacing, if you like. So I just need to make sure that our drawer runners put in there. From this point now, well, basically everything, the lineup has to be inside this line. So the front of the drawer is going to be here, the drawer front is going to be in the gap, but the back of this and the front of that should be the correct distance from the edge banding at the front. So we got about 14mm from the front there, and then obviously about 14mm from the front. This calls for a new Sharpie, so it's a bit pointy, and I'm just going to sort of strike a line up there at the moment. I want everything to sit behind. This will wipe off later, but whenever I'm fitting the rails into place on the drawer runners, when I'm fitting them on here, I want to be able to see that line. If it's over the line, I know it's going to be stopping the drawer going back as far as it needs to. This side again, hopefully the same, and that'll just give me the line. I'll see this in the drawer runners. So now I've just got to figure out height-wise drawer runner positions. What I try and do is, if ever you've got to space something out, if you can find something that's the right thickness to fit in, then you're okay. So my drawer runners are ever so slightly off the bottom of the drawer, probably by the thickness of that ruler. So that ruler will be my spacer, plus 2mm. So I'm going to put 2mm blocks on the floor. I'll put them on top of the ruler, and I'll literally put the drawer runner on there, screw it in place, swap it to the other side, and hopefully we'll have a square drawer. Okay, so I've lined that up, just pushing down onto that to get my space in. Try and use the bigger holes to start with. and that gives us some movement. So that's 3 in that side. We'll do the same in here. Hopefully this will fit and slide back and forth without scraping the bottom, which is the general plan. So that's nice, that works. So now we want the drawer face, so my 2mm spacers, bottom and sides. So you can see that's quite snug now. I'll just put a clamp on there, drive 2 of the screws in, and that'll leave it fixed fairly solidly for the time being. Just stop it moving. Right. So now, without the spacers, we should have nothing wrong with that. So now it's just a case of making sure that the other drawers go in accordingly. I think I've worked out the spacing. So each drawer front is going to be sitting a couple of mil over a spacer, so when the drawer shuts it's going to actually have contact bottom and top, which should keep it completely in alignment. I've just worked out, just trying to keep it a level at the moment in relation to the drawer, but I've put together 3 bits of wood that are exactly the same height as the distance between the top of the drawer sides and the drawer face as it stands. So if I put them at the back like that, then resting that across there gives me something flat to put my drawer runner on. I haven't got to worry about height. I can just screw it into here, up against my line. So that's the plan at the moment. Do that both sides, and then we'll just carry on stacking the drawers till we get to the top. I mean, if I was going to make this set again exactly the same, which I may do, then I will probably create spacers for each level. So I'll create spacers or just put some marks on the side. So this is exactly the same as I did on the other one. I'm going to put it, just for good measure, I'm going to put it on top of my ruler, but I'm not going to be using the 2mm spacers because I think my calculations, which were slightly more than the back of a fag packet, but not much. So that's going to land there. Just sit it back. I'll just go for 2 screws on this one, because if we have got to move it, I don't want screw holes everywhere. That side's in. I'll just move the blocks across to the other side. I'm not pre-drilling these, just they're a SPAX screw, and they've got a really sort of sharp point. But sometimes it's easier just to give them a little nudge, and it just bites a little hole. It just stops the tips squirming around. Let's try drawer number 2. That fits nicely. That's going to go in there with a 2mm spacer on the bottom and the sides. Now immediately I can see I've got a minor problem. Basically, in relation to the drawer face wants to be up. Obviously that'll give me a gap, so what I've got to do is drop the drawer box itself. So I've got to drop the slides. so my calculations weren't that good. It's all about adjusting when you're making something the first time. So anybody at home making something like this for the first time, they might not have access to a CNC, but at the end of the day you've still got to work out where shit goes. You know, and most converters that are medium size, you've got a bloke like me or you sat drawing things out on a bit of paper, maybe on a CNC, and cutting it to shape. So I just need to work out how much I need to drop it by, because if I push the whole idea of that space behind is that it gives me space for this to go in. So that's going to drop in there. But when that's connected, I'm at the top of my adjustment. I've lost any adjustment, and I've got about 2 mil of vertical adjustment in this. So the way I'm going to have to do it is drop the draw runner by 2 mil, and that should keep it in line with this. And then as long as I make sure as I go up I keep the same ratio of spacing, or the same increment, I should be alright. So yeah, give that about 2 mil and we should be there or thereabouts. That worked out good for level, so we just need to go back to making use of what we've got. So what have I got there? Bit of 15, 2 bits of 9. So the way I'm going to just lower this at the moment now, I'm just going to use that spacer across there, and instead of putting my 15 mil door across as my spacer, I'm going to put a bit of 12 mil across as my spacer, and then just drop that down onto that, and then we should be in the right ballpark. Try the draw this time. And then scissors. That's sitting a lot better. Very similar gap sort of down there to that one. So we're good. Happy with that. I'll basically do the same thing. I'll put 2 screws in from the other side. Doesn't help that I'm short-sighted either, so I can't bloody see a thing up close. And it's not much better. Well, it's worse with varifocals. I end up taking them off normally when I'm this close. Oh, come on, you bastard. Can't get my head in to see it, and my hand. Okay. Draw number 2, hopefully lined up and square. So make sure it lands back where it wants to each time. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. So draw number 3. Just check my spacing is still fitting up the top, which actually is fitting up. So that's that. Yeah. So spacing is still fitting up. Right, on to the last one. Just mounted the draw using the same method for all the others. So far they're lining up. These are all just screwed in with 2 screws at the moment before I put the adjustable bolts in. And at the moment they don't need any adjustment, but I'm sure obviously they will get to a point where they will. So I'm just going to put my 2mm spacers in. No issues there at all. I just need to basically pop those 2 screws in now from the top. Pop the spacers out, see if it stays where it's supposed to, or thereabouts. Happy days. So now all I need to do, these are going to sit in between each one so that we need something for the stop to go on, and basically it's going to go under that. So as long as I put, I need one there, there and there. And I need one there, although I could drop one off the back. But basically putting in the slam panel that's going to hold the catch. So I've mounted the Evo catch onto the middle of that. That's taking up the same line here, but I'm just trying to space it so that it catches and doesn't rub the bottom of the drawer runners or the drawer itself as it comes out. So I'm just trying to get these in alignment. The bottom one, I put the pocket screws in from underneath this one. It's going to be a lot easier to hold it in place and do it from the top, but no one's going to see these once they're in the van. You can't see them, so I'm going for ease of fitment over aesthetics when it's stripped down. I mean, the only person that's going to see it when there's no cupboards in it and no drawers in it is me. The problem we've got here is that everything has literally got about a millimetre tolerance. That's not bad. Not bad at all. There's probably very little adjustment on this. So I think, pretty much out of the out of the box. I wish it was out of the box. Oh dear. Right, we're on the last drawer for the kitchen unit. So this is the so I call it the pan drawer. So it's under the microwave or the oven, and it's basically as big and as deep as we can get away with. So any pots and pans or anything else that you want to put in, then there's a decent sized drawer that'll take it. And we've taken the opportunity to make the sides as high as we can, so any handles don't fly out and get caught on, like where the frame's cut away, to make the frame lighter. If you have a low sort of drawer side, pan handle comes out, gets stuck, so you can't get the bloody drawer open then. So anyway, this one, because we've got this above it, I can't sort of get in and make any holes on this. So what I've done for line-up purposes, I've just poked 2 screws through, about sort of 3mm, push that back, put a space in under each side, and then put the bottom in, put another spacer each side there, so that we've got our 2mm all the way round space in, and then just slide that back till it's meeting those screws, and basically just give it a bang. So that should put 2 marks on the back of the cupboard that we can then sort of open out, or I could just fit this in. On this one I'm just going to go straight to opening them out and put in the inserts in, but you can see there's a reasonably decent mark there now where it's sort of spiked through the laminate, so that's good. What we're going to do is just make this front drawer front slightly adjustable. We've got an M4 grub screw, or a nutsert, whatever you call it. Yeah, like a screw insert. And then we've got a 20mm M4 screw, which should give us enough bite after it's gone through the drawer. I might actually need to go to a slightly longer one to make space for a washer, but we'll use that for now. So first thing is a 6.5mm hole, depth stopped so that it can't go anywhere near the surface of this. And what I found, if you blast them in, they tend to sort of rip the top of the laminate out, so I'll put a decent countersink on the laminate and it just stop it breaking. What I do find with these as well is if you put plenty of pressure on them, if you're a bit half-arsed with it when you go to push them in, then they'll tend to chew it up, and you really only got one chance. So you want to push it and then just get it in. So just keep the pressure on whilst screwing, and then just make sure that it's flush or below. May as well fit the Evo catch here. Right, what I'm going to do now is take these screws out at the top. The bottom ones I'm just going to keep as screws. Top ones I'm going to open the holes out, and they're going to have a 4mm thread going through them, but to give us a bit of movement I'm going to take them out to 6mm. Just going to put a block of wood on the back just to avoid any breakout. So just by putting them in, at the moment I'm going to do it without washers. I'll offer that in now and just make sure it lines up. I would say that's pretty good. Shuts fine, gaps look good, so happy with that. Once we're 100% happy with the alignment of the drawer, we can put the bottom two screws in, which will lock it off and stop any movement. So that's just going to go right in the centre, and because of the way the Evo catches work, they're just, you've got some adjustment on them, but as long as you put them flush to the side that it's being shut against, you should be alright. A safe way of doing it is to make sure that you put the screws in the middle of the adjustment, and then you've got about 2mm forward, 2mm back. Just get the spacing right for the shut point. So the shut point I've done level with this cross member, which ends up being 2mm in from the sides.